Hello, friends. When I read this week's passage of Luke 9:18 through 62, I am immediately struck by how much this seems like Luke's gospel in a nutshell, really. The passage begins with Peter stating his belief that Jesus is the Messiah, but then Jesus explains that he isn't the kind of Messiah that Peter is expecting, and will in fact suffer and die, and his followers, including Peter and the others, and including us, will also need to lay down their lives and take up their own cross in order to find the only true life. So then, in a very similar fashion, right after that, the next verses tell of Jesus going up on the mountain with Peter and James and John. They see this spectacular vision of Moses and Elijah, which makes the point that Jesus is in keeping or is the fulfillment of the law and the prophets. Moses representing, of course, the law, since he was the one who went up on Mount Sinai and got the Ten Commandments to begin with, and Elijah being sort of the prophet exemplar. He represents all the prophets to the Jews. So Jesus himself is dazzling white, standing there with Moses and Elijah, transfigured, as Luke says, and they even hear God's voice. Surely this awesome display is going to lead to something equally awesome when they get down from the mountain, some awesome things happening in the world with Jesus, what he's going to do. And I'm sure all of the friends were thinking the same thing. We can't wait to get out there now. Yet what we actually find on the other side of the mountain, and the way that Jesus' messiahship seems to take form, is that Jesus next heals the boy of a desperate father. He doesn't come back down into this glorious, victorious kind of a crusade. He comes back down to simply heal a sick boy and listens to a desperate father. And then Jesus talks again about the suffering and death towards which he is willingly headed. That great act of self-emptying and self-giving on behalf of others, after which the disciples get into an argument about which one of them was the greatest, because of course that's what we tend to do. We want to be great. We want to be influential. We want to be respected. We want Christians in the church to be in positions of power and influence and respect, and we want the nation to be a Christian nation, but we're really kind of confused about what that means, and the list goes on. So Jesus picks up a child and says, in response, that the least among them will actually be considered the greatest. And finally, at the end, we discover that some people, a whole village in one case, reject this way of Jesus. It says a Samaritan village did not receive him explicitly because he set his face to Jerusalem. Yep, that's the part that many would-be followers of Jesus don't like. That's the part that we have trouble with. It's sort of like wanting the victorious, reigning, glorious Jesus of Easter while getting to leave behind that whole Good Friday part of the equation. But that part of the story is very much a part of him too. It's half the story. It's always connected. You can't disconnect the two. And he expects it to be a part of us as well, the main part of us even. Because next week the story will then turn to the disciples themselves going out, Jesus sending them out without money, without a bag, without even sandals on their feet, relying on others to provide them food and support, a very humble way of spreading the gospel indeed. So this is the gospel in a nutshell, and I hope you find it thought-provoking. Go in peace. Amen.